everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. I have one thing for you. Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. This is a reread. So, did I change my opinion from the last time I read it? Nope. Not really. And if you can't tell, I'm not very positive about it. Zahn is an interesting case because, in my opinion, nothing's perfect. The Thrawn Trilogy is, to me, the almost perfect sequel to the movies themselves. And there are flaws in it, but it feels so much like Star Wars. It feels so much like a movie, like a sequel movie you would go to see, that any flaws with it I can look past. I adore the Thrawn Trilogy, and I will always give Zahn praise for that trilogy. That being said, maybe he was abducted by aliens. Maybe this is an invasion of the body snatchers, and we aren't looking at the same Zahn. Or maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to speak to the canon books. I haven't read them. I don't care to read them. I'm never going to read them, most likely. Possibly one day, if I have nothing better to do with my life, perhaps I will check them out. I doubt it because I don't really care about canon and I don't care to check it out. I hear great things about them, though, from lots of different people. But as for Legends only. And, there are conflicting opinions, like Quality Autism. He thinks the Hand of Thrawn duology is better than the Thrawn Trilogy. I don't agree. I think literally there is a downfall. Like, he made Hand of Thrawn, it was fine. Nothing spectacular. Went on a little too long for my taste. Survivor's Quest was okay. The mystery it set up was great. However, now in hindsight, because I have another book that answers all those questions, I wonder if I'll feel the same when I reread it. Because now that I have all the answers, it kind of ruins the mystery. Now it's to the point that I made that point before to somebody else, and they're like, well, then doesn't that ruin the prequels because it reveals all the mysteries that were mysteries in the original movies? The difference is the Clone Wars, the prequel era, all that stuff. That was not the focal point. If the original trilogy was this mystery thriller, and gave you little lore hints as to what went on in the past, and that was the central focus of the movies, and then you get the prequels, it would kind of ruin that mystery because now you have the answers. Except that was only ever a side thing to the original movies. Like they mentioned the Clone Wars, but that's it. That was not the focus of those films. So learning more about it does not hinder the experience because the experience isn't hinged upon the mystery. That's not the appeal of it. And then, you have Outbound Flight, which was a significant step up. To me, it's the Thrawn Trilogy, Outbound Flight, Hand of Thrawn Trilogy, Survivor's Quest, and then these two garbage books. I haven't even gotten to the second one yet. Hell, I think Scoundrels is more entertaining than this, and that book pisses me off. A long tangent to say I'm not a big fan of Timothy Zahn, though I know a lot of people love to praise him because he's the father of the EU in a lot of the sense, even though, if we are being technical here, that's Alan Dean Foster with Splinter of the Mind's Eye. But as for a successful EU, it is thanks to Zahn. And then he's, made contributions with Thrawn to the new canon, and a lot of people like those canon books. I can't speak to the quality of those. I don't read them. Maybe he got back up his game. I don't know. But as for this book, what are you actually getting out of this book? Well, you have a couple different side plots going on. You have 4, actually. You have 2 compelling ones, 2 not compelling ones. First off, this is after episode 4, but before the Thrawn Trilogy, obviously. This is not after the movies, which is when the Thrawn Trilogy takes place. So what do we experience here? Well, we get to see Mara, Jade, as the Emperor's hand. Not Mara struggling with the loss of the Emperor and trying to come to grips with that. No, in her prime, the Emperor's hand, the Emperor's scalpel. And that's pretty cool. That being said, dragging her story out that she has in here to 400 pages, don't know if it needed it. Another thing is because Mara is the Emperor's hand, like, it's a neat concept when you read that in the Thrawn Trilogy. But when you are reading it, you know, it's, oh, Mara's doing cool things for the Emperor. But there's no, you know, and you get some nuance. You know, she's probably more morally righteous than a lot of people in the Empire. She's not really a dark side user. She's not really a light side user. She obeys the Emperor. She does as he commands. Serves the Empire, believes in it truthfully, righteously. And yet doesn't really give in to anger, but doesn't really follow the light side. She just uses the Force. You know, she believes in the Empire, believes it's true, believes it's just. And all that's interesting. But as for her character, I find her kind of bland. Because all the true character development for the character that she truly becomes isn't until the Thrawn Trilogy. Right now, she's just cool, assassin, spy, gal that has the Force and is a personal person to the Emperor. And we get, you know, a couple scenes where she gets to interact with Vader, which is interesting in a sense that she's speaking to a father-in-law that she never realized he would be, even if he's dead by the time that she, you know, marries Luke, but still. Then we have the second plot. I remember this being my favorite plot throughout the whole book last time, which is the Hand of Judgment. Basically, there are 5 stormtroopers, and there's this Imperial Security Bureau officer, the ISB, and they're yelling at the stormtroopers because, I don't know, on the ship they're allowed to not have to wear their uniforms, and it was kind of weird because he's so stereotypically, like, mean. He's like, I'm gonna have you executed and murdered because you're not wearing your frickin' stormtrooper outfits right now, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. And it ends with the stormtrooper, with one of them, LaRode, shooting him. And these are like a band of brothers, right? Like, they are thick as thieves. So they all go on the run together because they just killed an officer. Now, the interesting thing about them is that they love the Empire, but they went on a mission previously where they had to shoot civilians that were possibly rebel threats. They did not have confirmation on that. They have issues with, you know, alien bias and shooting innocent people, and they just start to believe, especially after Alderaan in episode 4, that the Empire is not what it once was, but they also don't want to join the rebellion because they see that as a means of instability, of ruining the galactic order they have in the galaxy with the Empire, because some people genuinely believe it's the right thing. It's not all evil people. But then again, there's another character that Zahn made that does this much better, which is Pelion. Someone who's morally righteous, morally great, and but truly believes in what the Empire stands for. You know, doesn't necessarily agree with the racism of the other, you know, alien species and all that, but believes firmly in the Empire being the best course of action for the galaxy. And so the Hand of Judgment is kind of the same in that aspect. But they don't want to join the rebellion. They don't want to join, or they don't want to stick with the Empire, so they become kind of rogues who help the little guy, like a Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man helping the little people. And that's kind of what they do for most of the book, till they meet up with Mara Jade and help her on a mission. I'm making this sound a lot better than it is, because it is such a slog to get through. This book is so boring. The only books that surpass this in boredom is Approaching Storm, the prequel to Episode 2, Fatal Alliance in the Old Republic era, and Stealth and Siege. But at least Stealth and Siege pisses me off at every corner, so I at least have an emotion. I had no emotions, no hatred, no love. I just felt empty and bored reading this. And I for the longest time, I made it a running gag on my channel when I was first going through the EU for the first time, and I was skimming every era. I only deep dived post episode 6. But one of the books I read was this duology. I guess you can kind of consider it, Allegiance and Choices of One, because it's written by Timothy Zahn, and I heard such wonderful things about Timothy Zahn. But for the longest time, this was my standard for a bad Star Wars book. If I thought a book was bad, I would compare it to this book. I'd say, oh, it's like Allegiance, don't read it. Now, I will admit there are way worse books that I've read since then. Knight Errant, anyone? But I don't think this book is good. But let's get on to the other 2 plot points. We have Han, Chewie, Luke going on some diplomatic rebel mission. I'm going to be honest, I kind of started zoning out. Boring. Just utterly boring. Don't care. And the characterization, why is Han so mean? I know he's sarcastic, I know he's that lovable scoundrel, but he just came off as a jerk here, like a lot of the time. And whether it be the Marvel comics or that Rebel Force series we talked about, Han considers them friends at this point, even if it's only been 2 weeks or however long it's supposed to have been by now. But Han cares about them. So why is he treating Luke like some sort of burden? And why is Luke so whiny? The only time he's this whiny is when he's like, but I was going to go to Tachi Station to get some power converters. Why is he reverting back to the start of episode 4? This is another weird thing with Zahn. He made such a fantastic sequel to the movies, and all the characters felt spot on. Like, that's exactly what they would be like after the events of those movies. So I guess he took somebody else's great work, all the people that worked on 4, 5, and 6. He's like, you know what? I can build upon that character development. Great, Zahn. But apparently you don't know how to write them in between movies. Because this is not how they should be portrayed, in my opinion. Now, again, if you haven't read anything else, if you're just like, you watched episode 4 and then read this, I guess maybe you'd have less of an issue with it. But the moment that you start caring about the EU, it just doesn't compute. Han's just an utter jerk in this book. Luke acts like a whiny loser. Not to mention the fact that, why is he getting all these, voice talks from Obi-Wan Kenobi? It'd be okay if that was, once in a blue moon, where he's like, is that really Ben? Right? But isn't he not supposed to, actually truly talk to Ben till episode 5? So why is he having this much communication? I mean, it's not a back and forth, but he keeps getting, literal messages in his head from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so far, from where I've seen chronologically, there's no example of this anywhere else. It's just Zahn's books. It's almost as bad as Obi-Wan having this sickness in the Stealth and Siege books, but we only hear about it in Wild Space and in those ones. And then what does Leia do? Literally don't care. I literally have nothing to tell you. I don't care about it. It's so boring. There's nothing to talk about with Leia. There's nothing good there. Maybe you disagree. If you do, let me know in the comment section below. Tell me why you like this book. Because I struggle to find any reason to. 2 plot points in this book that I could give less of a crap about. How do you make the OT characters, the OT movies, which are universally loved, the prequels, that's more mixed with people, right? It's more 50-50-ish. It's more, controversial. But nobody really hates on the OT unless you're trying to be a contrarian. Almost everyone agrees that the OT is good. So how do you make the OT characters not interesting to read about? I don't know, but Zahn manages to do it. This book was a snooze fest. This is my day off. I wanted to have fun, but I was doing work, chores, actively to get through this just so I could give you guys a review. I don't like this book. This is one of Zahn's worst books. This is one of the worst books in the EU. Number one, no, but it's certainly up there. It's bad. If it had just been about Mara and the Hand of Judgment, maybe like a 200, maybe 300 page book, 250, 260. You could add something really special. But you had to make it like 400 pages and fill it with useless side stuff that nobody cares about. Those are my thoughts. I think this book was ultimately pointless. There's some cool things here and there. Cool interactions between Mara and Vader. Enjoyed those. The Hand of Judgment were an interesting group. They were decent new characters. And that's about it. Really didn't care for it. Not my cup of tea. But if you enjoyed it, let me know why in the comment section below. If you don't want spoilers, I'm going to get into spoilers. I don't have too much to talk about. But I drudged through it, so I'm going to talk about some more things. But yeah. I don't recommend it. But of course it's Zahn, and if you like Zahn, you're going to check this book out. And maybe you'll really enjoy it. If you do, I genuinely want to know why you think that. I would like a different perspective. Because clearly I'm, not a big fan. Anyway, guys, that's all for today. If you don't want spoilers, time to get out of here. The villains. One of them, I guess, reappears in Hand of Thrawn. I just didn't care about them. I don't care. I just read it like, I don't care. I don't care. And yet I kept reading. There's one really good scene that I enjoyed where Han's talking to the Hand of Judgment, and he talks about when he used to be in the academy and he used to work for the Empire. And I thought that scene was really good. But, I don't know. There's another amazing scene where Vader thinks that Mara's not going to let him pursue Leia, because he's trying to find Leia because he wants to get to Luke. She's talking about something else entirely, but there's confusion. And so he gets ready to murder frick whatever the Emperor says about it. And it's a really intense scene. And it was really well done, and I gotta give credit where credit is due. So to that scene was really good. I also like that near the beginning of the book, Vader's in the archives looking for the name Luke Skywalker, looking for stuff that he's done. Because while I think he's mostly certain that is his son, he just wants to try to make sure he verifies that. And he even tries to hide it, but Mara's good at finding information, I guess. But yeah. I'm sorry, I'm so dead because of this book. That's basically it. It sapped all the joy from my heart. Reading it a second time through. One other thing, specifically, Mara is shown to be 18 here, and Mara's about the same age as Luke, give or take a year. So let's just say that that Luke and Mara are the same age. So if Mara's 18, Luke and Leia are 18. And Han's about 10 years older, which makes him about 28. I never want to hear you making fun of Padme and Anakin if you want to remain consistent with yourself. If you want to be an inconsistent bastard, feel free to do so. But if you want to be consistent and you like Han and Leia, then shut your damn mouth when it comes to Padme and Anakin, who have a 4-year age gap. I don't care if the actors are vastly different in age, it doesn't matter. In universe, the age difference is only 4 years, and they did not start to do anything romantic till they were both of consenting age. So I never want to hear you complain about it. Now, if you also dislike Han and Leia being together, if you find it weird, at least that's consistent. But if you're going to say, I love Han and Leia as a couple, but then get all pissy that Anakin and Padme get together, then I'm sorry, you are stupid. And you need to reevaluate the way you think. Anyway, that's about the last thing. I was probably a bit more snarky in that last comment. I was just going to, mildly address it. Um, because I noticed that they mentioned her age in here, and I thought that was interesting. And then I thought about Luke and Leia and Han, and I probably wouldn't have sounded so mean, but I had to read this book to get that information or to think about this at all. And you know, I guess I just really needed time to. I overthought it because I need to get my mind off the book because the book is so dreadfully boring. I'd rather read a chemistry textbook. I'm not gonna lie. Um, anyway, guys, one of Zahn's stinkers down the drain. We head back to the fun Marvel comics and news strips, and I hope you all join me for that, where I can finally feel joy in my heart again over Star Wars. But that's basically it for now, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Sharing up's a ton. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to remain happy, maybe hold off on reading these till you've read everything else in the expanded universe. Or at least a good chunk. Till next time, may the Force be with you.